I fell in a pool in the Dominican. We left it in with all my phones, all the camera gear into the water.
No.
Welcome back to the All I Ever Wanted podcast. Today we're over at Maserati of Edmonton. I'll lead into my guest right away, but I'm going to tell you why it is this episode is very important to me and why we think we need to do this. Because one of the things that everybody seems to ask us investment-wise or life-wise is, how do I get rich quick? I can't tell you that. No wealthy person can tell you how to get rich quick. And if someone can tell you how to get rich quick, let's be completely honest, it's a scam. So what we're going to focus on today with our guest is the process of building up your life, playing the long game, and reaping the rewards a little later on in life than trying to do it right now. So I'm going to toss it over to our guest. This is Jon. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Jon is the GM here at Maserati of Edmonton, but that's not where you started, is it?
No, not at all.
Explain to people then the process of becoming awesome.
Yeah, it's, let's slow down with the awesome. We're not quite there yet. But, no, you know what, cars for me. Cars have been a passion for a long time. I've loved cars growing up. I had backpacks full of Hot Wheels when I was a young kid, right? So my grandfather actually worked at Cal Tire just down the street here.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just in my blood, I guess. I really enjoyed it. So I got into high school and saw the electives option list that they give you, the typical stuff, and I saw automotive. And I thought, that's an easy 6 credits.
Yeah.
I got to count up to 100. Let's knock 6 off right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's how it started. I went into auto class. Wasn't really my thing. I didn't
like automotives in high school either.
You took it too?
A completely different course. I'm actually a little older than Jon. He just looks more refined because he has to. But the program that we had, it was boring. I knew how to do an oil change when I was 12, so to make it take an entire class seemed kind of boring. This is back when there were spark plugs and carburetors. You might want to Google that one.
Way back when.
Yeah. And V8s.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was on the opposite end of that spectrum. I didn't know the difference between a wrench or a ratchet. I was around it, but never really worked on them. So didn't.
You listening to this? Acquiring knowledge. Common theme, eh?
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. I got. My teacher at that time is funny. He knew I wasn't really into it. I was there for the credits, and that was about it. So.
And I'm guessing there wasn't a bunch of pretty girls there that you were
No, believe it or not. Which there's a lot more now.
Oh, absolutely.
A totally different topic, but I think that's fantastic.
Yes, I walked into a class, and it was basically a 50-50 split. So good on you ladies for going after an automotive career, because it's lucrative if you do it right.
Absolutely. Females in our industry are a commodity, and they tend to be very, very successful in any roles I've seen. So that's definitely an option. But yeah, sorry. So I didn't know much about it, and my teachers kind of realized that I was sort of the class clown.
No.
Right? Yeah, Tell me about it. But yeah, it was pretty commonplace that I'd be asked to bring a brake rotor, and I'd show up with a tire thinking it was close. I just didn't know. So yeah, and ended up going through 10. It was a great experience. Then next year had the option to go full afternoons. So now I went from 6 credits to 12 credits.
Wow. Okay.
Let me tell you again, the math. I'm knocking that 100 down real fast. But that's when I really actually started enjoying the class. It was my escape during the day. I found something that I liked.
Yeah, you know what? If you're liking it, it's almost like that cigarette break for people.
Exactly.
We're not condoning smoking.
No,
just
none of that. But it was my escape during the day. I was able to go to school, and it felt like I wasn't in a class, and I was free. My mind could roam. I could learn. I could really learn in a way that was tangible to me, where I wasn't reading out of a textbook. That's not for me. I'm not wired that way.
I get that. Yeah, I'm tactile. I need 100% to physically to learn something.
Yeah. Same thing with me. I'm lefty loosey, righty tighty. Didn't understand it until I tried.
Google it. It's not as dirty as it sounds.
Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
So yeah, and then I found my passion in automotive from that point forward, and I decided, this is something I like. This is something I really enjoy. So that led on to the typical career and goal setting stuff they do with you in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you do your aptitude test, and they say, okay, you're going to be the class clown, or you're going to be good luck in accounting for the rest. No offense to any of my accounting friends, but right, that's
you're not the most
works.
Exciting people we knew. Come on.
Yeah, until
Here's
you get
a
a
name
couple drinks
tag.
into it.
Practice this line. Would you like fries with that?
Yeah. So, and the truth is, we got to really take a look at what was exciting. And I had a teacher, and he asked me, he said, John, what's the one class you wouldn't skip if you were coming to school and you could skip any class with no consequences? What's the one class you wouldn't skip? And for me, it became automotives. That was what it was.
That's a good question. I don't think that was ever posed to us like that. I like that.
You'll find your passion almost immediately. If you've done your electives correctly and exposed yourself to all of the options that are out there, you'll find real quick what you're passionate about.
Well, anytime I've exposed myself, I haven't really found anything but the legal system, but all right.
Different exposure. But
all right, fair enough.
But no, it's from that point onwards, I decided this was probably the direction I wanted to go. This is a class I wouldn't skip. It's something I'm passionate about. I like it. I gained a little bit of knowledge through the class and figured, maybe this is a direction I could go. So at that point, they had a work experience program. So we got, I want to say, two or 3 weeks to get to go to a shop. And let me tell you, I was excited.
Yeah.
I was excited. It's real world, big
dirty,
boy things, right?
Big boy things.
Big boy things. We're going to go play with the big dogs. Very quickly learned that that's a pretty intimidating portion of the class.
Absolutely.
But I got to go to a local Nissan dealer. My mom had just bought a Nissan X-Trail at the time, so
hey, good investment. We were always talking about vehicles for investments. If you can get a clean X-Trail, they're going up in value right now.
They're
incredible.
Amazing.
They're
And
back
they were-
up to 15, 20 grand. You could get one for 6 or 7 3 years ago.
They were years ahead of their time.
Yep.
Yeah, they're just so. That probably dates us or ages us a little bit, but
Yeah.
so what ends up happening is I go to Nissan. Super excited. I'm ready to turn wrenches. I'm pumped. Get there, and they had me the pressure washer.
There you go.
Not the tool I was expecting, right? I knew what a wrench and a ratchet were now, so I was ready. But ended up getting the pressure washer and get told, you know what, you're gonna start by washing the floors. That's kind of how it all runs. I was discouraged,
Yeah.
to say the least, right? You come in with the attitude that you're ready to roll and you're going to learn the big stuff, and I'm ready to pull out my first engine and
Yeah. Wow.
right, sitting there washing floors. I got told I was doing that wrong. So you wash towards the grate, not away from the grate. That's probably the biggest tip I have for anyone.
Absolutely.
Towards the grate.
Drainage for a reason.
Right?
Yep.
So anyway, at the end of the term, I went to their service manager and said, hey, how did I do? Do you think this is something I want to pursue? Do you think there's a spot for me? He said yes. I was so grateful. He said yes, and I asked, okay, yeah, I'll be here. He said, come in on Saturday, and I'll
Right
have
off
your
the
job.
bat, he wanted you Saturday.
All over the, I think it was summer. We were just going into summer at that time. He said, all summer, I'll hire you. Every Saturday, 4-hour shift.
That sounds like a test, because no kid wants to give up their weekends during a summer.
You know what? I didn't know it. I didn't know. I was just excited. I was focused on the goal. This is the industry I want to get into. Let's do it. So I get there on the Saturday, pumped to start doing work. I figured oil changes, something simple like that. No, it was the pressure washer. Again,
Wow.
the dreaded pressure washer. So I got hired to wash floors on Saturdays, 4 hours a day.
They get dirty on Saturdays too.
Yeah. It had to be done. So started there, worked the summer, and then when it came back to September, I had to make a choice. It was either post-secondary or I stay in the workforce. I come from a very traditional family, so they were really pushing post-secondary, which I fell into the trap. So yeah, post-secondary. So I went into a pre-trades course. Pre-trades where it's a 1-year program. At that time, it was a 1-year program. It might have changed now, but 1-year program that gets you your first year of automotive and then does work placement for you. So gets you into the industry with a contract. And
you just wait in, get your toes wet kind of thing.
Exactly.
Perfect. Okay.
Exactly, right? So day one, I get there. And so they ask us about our experience. I said, well, I've taken automotives and I currently work at a dealership doing floors on a Saturday. My teacher looked at me and said, John, go. If you have a job, go, push, fight, try to get your apprenticeship. I said, okay, well,
smart.
What about school? He said, we can only get you so far. You'll get first year through your apprenticeship. If you're working, you're a step ahead. And that, I didn't realize that. That kind of clued in after the fact. So, oh man, I'm already on the path to where I want to go.
Yes.
Just by making a silly decision like washing the floors all summer.
It's a paycheck, and it's learning a process.
Right?
Floors need to be cleaned in the CEO's office just as much as they do on a showroom floor or in the back. A job needs to be done, and cleaning is part of it. You'll never shit on someone from above if you've done their job.
Yeah. That's super important.
And that's a later on piece of knowledge to build a really good team. Mm-hmm. So sorry, back to it.
Yeah. No, it's I quit. I quit my first day of post-secondary. Mm-hmm. Didn't tell my parents because they would have killed me. Went back to my old manager and said, "Hey, can I have my job back? I'll wash floors." He looks at me and says, "No, you know what? There's an opening in the lube bay. Let's get you started in there."
Also not as dirty as it sounds.
Can be. So it was then and there, right? I guess the impression that I made over the summer, not realizing it, but being there on time, always working, just there to do the job, get it done, put in my time, not knowing what it was going to lead to, because for all intents and purposes, I was done in September. Mm-hmm. As far as I knew, I wasn't going back to that store ever again. I got the okay. They said, "Well, we'll bring you back. We'll sign you after a year of working. We'll sign you on your apprenticeship." So, started changing oil. Went through first and second year. Was still in the lube bay. That's usually when the transition happens, right? You start getting your hands wet, a little more mechanical. Start pulling engines and things like that. Third and fourth year, I was still in the lube bay.
That could be a little discouraging at that point.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, I learned a lot about the business in those 2 years, mm-hmm. about how the dealerships run and operate. It was discouraging. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, right? So ended up being a fourth year lube bay tech. Really turned me off from the mechanical side of things. I decided, it's frustrating, but the rule was you're going to finish. Yes. No matter what it is. Finish it. Got my ticket.
It's just as valid as anybody else's ticket.
Right? Was a little bit unhappy for the last little bit, but got the ticket nonetheless.
And you got paid.
Got paid, got the ticket. And let me tell you, once I had that ticket, the doors blew open. That little piece of paper.
Does anything that sound like overnight? Just keep that in mind as you're hearing this. None of this is overnight.
Yeah. It was, as soon as I had that ticket, I got invited to a luxury dealer. A friend of mine said, "Hey, why don't you come take a look?" Little did I know I was getting interviewed. Again, I was excited. I wanted to see how clean the floors were. It was a new dealership. Oh. The floors better be clean.
They better shine. Yeah, right? I want to see my reflection.
They should, right? So I went to go check their floors. I didn't know I was getting interviewed.
The people that know how to interview people never let you prepare because they want to know what you can say based on knowledge, not based on pre-prep. Yeah. Something you should all know if you ever have to go for an interview.
It's important.
Yes.
It's important. So I went, accidentally got interviewed, accidentally got the job.
Accidentally.
At this point, I'll tell you where my headspace was, because now looking back, I understand what was going on. I was a little frustrated with the industry, mm-hmm. with the way my apprenticeship had been handled. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay on the bench or not. So I thought, you know what? This is an opportunity. I'm going into a luxury store. It's a new start, fresh start, right?
Yeah.
This will help me decide if wrenching is really for me. Maybe there's something else I'm good at.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects, especially in a delership.
In a dealership, you can go into finance, you can go into sales, you can go into there's so much. But I figured, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Try change the scenery. Grass is always greener on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. Got into it. I was on the bench for about 4 months. I decided, this isn't for me. The grass wasn't greener.
It's not always greener on the other side. It's greener where you water it.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. So I sat down and I looked at my skill set. Okay, well, I'm a pretty bad mechanic. I've been changing oil for 4 years. But I'm really good at talking about it.
Nice.
Really good at talking about it.
Knew all your grades of oil. Right? Viscosity,
Super good.
Mm-hmm.
But I looked at that skill and I said, I'm good at talking about it, and I have my ticket. So I have the knowledge, the mechanical working knowledge. It's all there.
Mm-hmm. It just hasn't been applied.
It hasn't been applied. And maybe the aptitude wasn't there to get things done the way that I knew I could or needed to. I just didn't have enough practice. So I had a decision to make. Yeah. Do I keep trying to get the practice? Now in a situation where every broken bolt costs you money. You lose time. You screw something up, you're too slow, you lose time. There was days where I worked 8 hours and I got paid for maybe 1 hour of work.
Explain that. Just
flat rate systems.
Oh, that's true. If it's 3 hours to change the brakes, but you've never done it before.
Maybe I took 4.5 because I wanted to do it right. I still got paid 3.
Yes.
Didn't matter.
See, things about the industry.
So, to me, in my mind, that stress was undue or unfair. I didn't feel like I wanted to work like that. Yeah. It was slowly pulling my passion away from what it was. And it became a job very, very quickly. And that's a tricky thing.
Yeah, that delineation where you're like, well, I'm used to doing this, but I don't want to. And then you start waking up saying, I have to go to work instead of I get to go to work.
Exactly. That mindset switch, and I saw it happen. Yeah. And I didn't recognize it at that time, but said, you know what, I can't make this switch. Something has to happen.
Yeah.
I have to make a choice. I decided to take a step back, ditched the tools, and went into advising. Became a service advisor.
Oh.
Because I have knowledge, mechanical knowledge, and I talk too much. Because if I didn't talk too much, I'd be a good tech.
Okay. See, identifying your flaws and strengths. Wow. Okay.
And
another great example. Sometimes other people can't find your flaws, and correcting your flaws or figuring out where your strengths are to cover up those flaws is how you progress. You don't always have to fill in the voids if you already have something that could be applied.
Absolutely.
I like that.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it's not your employer's job to find those strengths and weaknesses.
Thank you for not putting the responsibility on the person who's already paying you for your time.
It's not. You need to understand what you bring to the table. Whatever that is, you need to figure out what that item is that you bring to the table and hyper-focus on that. That's what worked for me. Mm-hmm. And I hyper-focused on the fact that I enjoy personal interaction with people. I really enjoy talking. I enjoy telling stories. I enjoy hearing people's stories. And I excel in those types of situations. So what am I doing with my head buried in an engine bay with metal all around me and no one to talk to?
It just echoes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I could hear myself thinking. It was horrible.
Were you agreeing with yourself, though?
Not often.
Okay, that's scary, yeah. If you're having full-on conversations, that's a completely different episode.
Right? Yeah, no, we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
But yeah, it took a step back then. Took a step back and came off the bench and started to be a service advisor. Mm-hmm. And really found that passion again. Nice. It reignited me, and I realized the switch wasn't in the same role at a different location. It was a different role, and it probably could have been
the same knowledge.
With
you just attacked a different. It's like chipping away at something, and you hit the knot in the log.
Yeah.
Well, fine. Let's cut from this side.
Yes.
It's the same log. It's the same tool.
Yeah.
Let's get the job done. I like that.
See, and I've always structure-wise, I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not, right? So I've always been on the athletic side, but wanted to be the best at something. Everything I tried, I couldn't seem to get to that. I couldn't be the best at it. There was always and I deemed it in my head a physical limitation or whatever it is. The reality is I probably could have overcome them. But at that point, all I knew was, I'm limited. I'm not as fast as this person. I'm not as quick. I'm not as tall. I'm not as strong.
You're focusing on deficiencies instead of your strengths.
Exactly.
See how identifying this stuff is I know we got a bunch of victim mentalities out there and stuff like that, where you're just expected to, you have to factor in this, or you got to make special considerations for me. Do you see the difference? He's talking about finding out what he is the best at or closest to the best at, and then pursuing it so you can offer the best version of yourself to an employer or to any relationship that you're getting in. Friends, business, personal. If you always bring your best mindset and your best person to the equation, of course you're going to win. This is not something new. This isn't some foreign psychological thought process. This is how a winner wins.
It's not always a linear progression.
Never.
Right? And when I say I took a step back, it was a step back in wages. It was a step back in, if you want to call it status,
yeah,
right?
Which we never want to do.
Whatever it is, right? It was a step back. But I realized, I looked at the advisors that were there and I said, I have more knowledge. I have more mechanical knowledge simply because of my schooling. Because of the fact that I decided to take those 4 years and not quit at my second year when I was frustrated, but to say, no, I'm going to finish this. Now I have more knowledge. All of a sudden I'm valuable. If I can piece it together with my strengths, which I believe are talking to people and my personality,
absolutely.
If I can put those two together, there's no reason why I can't be the best service advisor. So,
which is needed, because if it's a position somewhere, do you think they want to hire the mid-grade person? No, it's better to pay the best person more money so they make you more money.
Right. And that's exactly it. I started selling based off of knowledge. Nothing else. I didn't have sales skills. Let me tell you, I had never sold anything before in my life.
But you're so confident in what you know, you can translate it to someone. You do need this. This is required. You don't have to do this now. Here's a 6 month, because you understood the process of repair, service. Keeping a car in the ideal condition, because the person bringing their vehicle in is treating it like their investment. Yes. They've paid a lot of money. Absolutely. So if you show that you know everything about their vehicle and you can direct them down the course to keep their vehicle running its best, it's going to be worth more to them. And people appreciate that. Don't you hate when you go to a dealership and you feel like you're getting hosed around? Because let's be honest, the person talking to you doesn't actually know much. I remember, I'm not going to call out which dealership, but I did go look at a GT Mustang, probably back in 2011. I don't even remember. It was a while ago. And the salesperson was rattling off all these specs and talking about how much horsepower it had, and it's 0 to 60 times. And, this year we've got a 6-speed. So if we need to Google when they finally put a 6-speed in, that was the year. And then followed it up with, and I think that's why it's making more power this year. I was like, wait, you put a new transmission in, that's why it makes more power? Wow, okay. I am not buying a car from here. I'd rather buy one from a crackhead. But that lost a sale, and we were there to buy a vehicle. Whereas someone who presents knowledge, confidence, and a plan. So like in services, you have to make a plan.
Yes.
That would make me want to go purchase vehicles or pay for service at a place. And I know a lot of you out there think the same way. So sorry, I hate to go off on tangents, but these are the small things that make a difference for you and for everyone around you. Your credibility, your the difference between character and I'm not even going to go into that. But your reputation and your character. Your reputation gets you through the door, but you can still screw up. Your character gets you a seat at the table. Trust, absolutely. Respect, responsibility, all that comes with good character. And this is what he's talking about. He's building his best character so he can provide the best outcome for someone who sits down with him. Sorry, go back into it.
Yeah, no, it's I found my passion in it because finally I was able to talk and someone was responding instead of pistons.
Cold valve covers,
right?
Yeah.
That's just what it is. But the reception from clients was great as well. And I approached it with a very...
Because you don't talk down to people.
No.
You can have the knowledge without having to make someone feel stupid for not having your knowledge. And people hate that.
And just because I chose to take a course in it, I spent 4 years of my life learning about it, means I gained the knowledge, but that doesn't mean that you haven't taken a 4-year course or a 6-year course or a 10-year course on something. And you're going to be more knowledgeable in another facet of life. In fact, you might be more knowledgeable in automotives than I. I'm not here to... It's not a pissing contest.
No, it's a mutual
I'm here to say,
situation.
Guys, this is what it is. Here's what my technicians have told me what the car needs. Here's your highest priorities. I'll work with you to make a plan to put this together. I eventually got to the point where there was lineups outside of the office, where I had my client base. And
you talk too much?
Probably because I talked too much.
Yeah, got good coffee? I like it.
Life got so easy at that point as a job, and that's where I noticed the switch happened, where I'm no longer... I'm back to being passionate about what I do. And I'm excited to go to work. And the people that are coming in are now no longer clients, but they're friends. They're people that we've met a couple times, and you get to know about... You learn about their lives. They learn about your lives. Like, I've had one client. I'll tell you a quick story here. I have one client. She was a client of mine when I was changing oil back in the lube bay. And she's bought a car from every dealer that I've gone to over the last 17 years. 17-ish years. And she brings it up every time she calls. She has my personal cell. Whenever she needs anything, mechanically related, sales related, anything, she calls me. And she says, my son, do you remember when you were changing oil and I said you were going to go somewhere? To this day. And I mean, we're 17, 18 years later.
Yeah.
To this day. And so I got to build those relationships, and that was valuable to me.
Oh, absolutely.
That I really enjoyed.
It's like your life's Rolodex.
Right? Exactly. You have contacts all over the place. Your network is so important.
Yeah.
In helping
and
you grow and build.
You cannot create that overnight.
Yep.
There's no way. There's so many people that think because of social media they have so many friends or so many people that like their stuff. When you need to call someone clutch, no pun in the automotive thing, there's very few people who will come through for you on social media. But when they know that you've done them favors, you respect their opinions, you just bond over respect, people are always there for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And build a peer network. A peer network of people. For me, it was nice because I went to school, so I kept in contact with all the guys we went to school with. So I've got technicians that we went through first, second, third, fourth year together. I know some are managing their own shops. I know some that have left the industry, done something completely different. I know guys in heavy duty. I've hired my shop foreman right now. Him and I went to second year together.
Wow.
I hated the kid's guts. You know why?
Because he probably had strengths where you didn't.
Yeah. Number one in the class there all the time.
But you knew that.
So the kid's theoretically just brilliant, and then he puts the mechanical aptitude together, and he can do it on paper and in the car. Now I'm like, oh well, I can't be the best at this. Now we're working together.
Hey, it sounds like a good team to me.
Right?
You got the theory, the practice, and the technical side of things all wrapped up, and now you deliver the best package to the customer.
That's the network, though.
Yes.
Had I not built that network at that time, I wouldn't be able to provide that service today.
You could just keep rotating through techs, install stuff like that, not building good relations, which ups the liability on a dealership.
Oh.
Like, we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars here. We'll do a little walkthrough at the end. There is so much liability at something like a dealership, and the wrong tech, massive liability. So yeah, bringing in the right people, even if it costs more, saves you money.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. It's your network. I can't stress that enough. Your network is so important. Yeah. So important when it comes to anything in life.
Just the simple fact that we're sitting here. Absolutely. We both know each other. We both respect each other.
Yes.
I won't abuse what you have here. I know that you're only going to ever speak honestly. Yes. So here we are, sitting in the middle of a multi-million-dollar showroom talking about cool stuff like this. So here we are, through networking. I don't even like that word, but you know what I'm getting at. This is how to do it right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's even the move to the new dealer came through a network, friend. It was a friend of mine, and we used to go out and party all the time. Next thing you know, he says, "Hey, come take a look at the store."
Yeah. And even if it
all of a
didn't
sudden.
turn out, he knew you were good for what they needed, and that's why they invited
Knew
you.
a guy, 'cause-
People don't bring a bad version of someone,
Yeah.
especially if they have to vouch for them. Your friends are not going to, if they know you're a shitty worker, they're never going to advise you to go somewhere that they also know the people that have to pay you. It
Exactly.
makes them look worse. They lose their connections.
There's your reputation.
Reputation.
And you lose some of your network.
Yeah.
Networks will change. All throughout your career in life, your network
Oh,
will
absolutely.
change.
And for the most part, it shrinks because finding quality people. And I'm not judging people. Just when you start using up more of your time in your life, and you're only left with decades instead of many decades, you really focus on who you give your time to, and it's going to be more of the quality people, not people you can use, but just the people you know. They're not going to bullshit you. They're not coming to you for favors all the time. They're there if you need to move something, or just, you know what, let's go out for a drink. And they're not going to be the negative people that drown you.
Yeah.
And that's what scares a lot of people, is losing big networks as opposed to creating the quality relationships. So
Yeah, it's I can't stress that your network's just so important. All the doors that have opened in my career had some relation to a contact through a network, something, somehow, some way. And the truth, I say I interviewed for that job without knowing it. Since then, any of the roles that I've taken on, I haven't interviewed. It's a matter of
what's
a matter
it
of
going to
network.
take to get you over here?
Right. And so you build over time. You work, and you build this reputation and this character. You may not realize what you're doing or see the fruits of your labor immediately.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you get a call. And
We need you to be the man.
right. Hey, we think you could fit our role. You're what we're looking for. Where does that information come from? Where do they learn? How do they know I'm the guy? If I am the guy.
Especially in an industry like this, they know if you've done bad business. They know if you've got bad reputation. Word travels quickly in these type of circles. So to be called for your expertise and your reputation, which then brought on your character, that in itself is flattery. It's the highest level of respect and flattery.
Absolutely.
So what was, now that we're kind of coming to an end of this, what was the time frame between I didn't know what a wrench was, and now you're GM of the dealership? What's that time frame?
Yeah, we're looking at about 18 years.
18 years.
No, I'd say more than that. 18, or 20, 21, 22 years.
Pretty happy with life, aren't you?
You know what? I love what I do. I'm super passionate. And you see it. We've spent enough time here at the dealership. Like,
Oh, you love
this is home.
Look
I
what we
wanna
got.
wake up to work.
We got one of one in the showroom right now.
Right?
So
So unfortunately, every now and then we have to drive supercars. It's a tough part of the job, right?
yeah, I'm gonna have to call the labor board about the unfair conditions here.
Yeah, we're getting treated unfairly.
Well, really appreciate you coming out.
Thank you for having
We came
me.
out to you, but having us here at this
thank you,
beautiful
thank you.
space. You think you can give us a walkthrough? I'm sure people would love to see what you got going here on the floor.
You know what? I think
make that happen?
I think we can make it happen. Let's
All
take a
right.
walk. I'll show you guys around.
Very cool.
Excellent.
So for John, producer Mac, I'm Chris. We're going to go for a little tour, and then we're out.